Good morning, colleagues. We start the Russian Donors Forum Annual Conference on Charitable Activities and Special Investment for Sustainable Development. Our conference is taking place online, yet we hope that everything works out and we are able to have a discussion. Every year we pick the subject of our conference in January, and of course in January we didn't know that this year was going to be special. And our plan was to talk about sustainability, sustainable development goals. This year turned out to be quite surprising. And we understand, of course, according to some estimates, we haven't seen anything like that over the past 75 years. And sorry, can you hear me now? We have issues with sound. Once again, hello. So, does the audio work now? Can I continue? Could we please test the sound? Can I continue? Can you hear me? Well, we knew something like that was going to happen. We can hear the interpreter fine.
сейчас слышите?
Да. Да, слышно.
При выходе из Zoom, и мы сейчас предложим всем участникам подключиться в Zoom. Нет, пошло? Пошло. Стоило только предложить радикально. Коллеги, еще раз добрый день. Я приношу извинения за нашу техническую заминку. И возвращаясь к официальным речам, я бы попросила еще раз коллег поставить приветственное слово Галины Николаевны Кареловой. Большое спасибо.
Уважаемые организаторы, участники и партнеры конференции форума доноров, приветствую вас от имени Совета Федерации по поручению председателя Совета Федерации Валентины Ивановны Матвиенко. Ваши конференции проводятся ежегодно, но это всегда большие события в жизни и нашей страны, и уже 24 стран мира. С каждым годом количество участников растет. Интерес действительно огромный. И ко всему тому, что обсуждается на конференции, и, конечно, к тем рекомендациям, выводам, которые делаются по результатам проведения конференции. Время, в которое проводится в этом году конференция, особенное. Все страны мира практически переживают трудные времена в связи с пандемией коронавирусной инфекции. И в этой связи уже есть огромный опыт, накопленный вами по участию в ликвидации последствий, в помощи тем людям, организациям, которые переживают действительно большие последствия в связи с коронавирусной инфекцией. И вклад доноров, донорских организаций очень высок. И от имени Совета Федерации я хочу поблагодарить вас всех за ту работу, которую вы проводите. И я очень рада, что в этом году особенность конференции связана еще и с тем, что Совет Федерации выступает одним из соорганизаторов. Именно потому, что мы видим вклад и конференции в целом, и всех организаций, которые принимают участие в конференции. Мы уже имеем совместную повестку, и у нас еще много тем, по поводу которых надо активно работать вместе. Очень важно отметить повестку нынешней конференции. Она сверхактуальна. Устойчивое развитие мира, устойчивое развитие каждой страны. Сегодня это одна из самых приоритетных тем. И в этой связи мы очень рассчитываем, что будут интересные доклады, интересные предложения. Совет Федерации заинтересован продолжать совместную работу со всеми. Все в жизни имеет смысл, когда есть продолжение. Я уверена, что оно у нас у всех есть. Хочу пожелать вам в заключении успешной работы и крепкого здоровья каждому и каждой из вас.
Еще раз огромное спасибо. И я передаю слово Станиславу Каспарову, председателю Совета форума доноров.
Добрый день, уважаемые коллеги. Рад, наконец, подключиться, преодолеть все эти барьеры, сложности. Была такая, знаете, задумка немножечко на широкую аудиторию, уважаемую, рассказать про площадку, про конференцию форума доноров, про то, какая-то, на мой взгляд, авторитетная, как показывает сегодняшний опыт, может быть, не вполне еще пока технологичная или не вполне везучая на технологии площадка, но все-таки она такая ключевая и, на мой взгляд, действительно наиболее авторитетная дискуссионная площадка российской филантропии в самом широком смысле слова. И я очень рад, что, несмотря на все эти сложности, с которыми мы все в этом году столкнулись, мы сегодня собрались. Это традиционный осенний сбор конференции. Давайте вот раз нас так сегодняшний форс-мажор немножечко отбросил по времени, давайте вкатываться в работу. Я бы хотел, отмечая высокий интерес к нашему мероприятию в Верхней палате парламента, сказать, что и Нижняя палата парламента в стране не остается, и, безусловно, ни добрые дела, ни широкие сердца, ни филантропия в широком смысле слова, ни цели устойчивого развития, которые стали такой опорной, вот уже несколько лет как стали опорной базой для всего этого в России, не уходят с повестки вопросов, которые активно обсуждаются в Государственной Думе Российской Федерации. И в этом смысле я благодарю за то, что сегодня с нами, и рад приветствовать депутата Государственной Думы Дмитрия Валерьевича Сватковского, возглавляющего подкомитет по контролю за социальными вопросами. Дмитрий Валерьевич, передаю вам слово. Добрый день. Еще раз спасибо, что вы с нами сегодня.
Доброе утро, добрый день, дорогие коллеги. Действительно, сегодня хорошее утро, учитывая, что не только сегодня и хорошая погода, и солнце вышло наконец над Москвой, но самое главное, что сегодня мы начинаем эту неделю с открытия 18-го международного форума доноров. И, конечно, в первую очередь от имени Государственной Думы хотел поприветствовать всех участников, всех тех, кто заинтересован в развитии филантропии непосредственно не только в Российской Федерации, но и также продвигает эту тему непосредственно в других государствах, в других сообществах. И, конечно, сегодня важно то, что Государственная Дума ни в коем случае не стоит в стороне от создания условий для благотворительности. И можем абсолютно отметить, что без участия партнеров, без участия бизнесов, конечно, те задачи, которые ставит сегодня перед нами государство, решить практически невозможно. И свой личный опыт, и я очень благодарен бизнес-сообществу, людям, которые в самые тяжелые моменты сегодняшней ситуации, это связано и с коронавирусом, и с более тяжелыми заболеваниями, особенно влияющими на младенческую смертность, которые сегодня все равно еще остаются проблемой. Это, конечно, и дорогостоящее лечение детей, которые с рождения, к сожалению, получают уникальные болезни для того, чтобы произвести те или иные медикаментозные сопровождения этих детей. Все это, конечно, ответ на то, нужно ли сегодня развивать филантропию или не нужно сегодня развивать, или надо закрыться, или надо...
We face so many problems today that is crystal clear that we don't have any more important tasks than philanthropy. This conference will provide us with the answers we really need today. I went over your agenda, so I'm going to join you for some of the discussions. I want to learn from all of you, especially I'm interested in international experience. The situation with COVID affected many countries, including some developed countries with very good healthcare systems, better than the Russian one. So it would be a great opportunity to study those countries' experience. I can also assure you that the State Duma responds very quickly to whatever the society needs. And I would like to thank all the companies represented here. I went over the list. These are all foundations well known in Russia. They do a lot for our country, and the goals they set for themselves are very ambitious. So, thank you very much. I will stay with you throughout the conference. Once again, I wish you good luck, a lot of interesting ideas. As long as we work together, we will be able to cope with the coronavirus. I think your conference should review the current situation and make plans for the next 5 to 10 years. It's really important to consider how we can all help each other and serve each other. Thank you very much. This was Dmitry Svatkovsky. I give the floor back to Stanislav Kasparov now. Thank you very much. The State Duma is with you. Thank you, Dmitry. I would like to say a few words about the coronavirus. April and May were the most difficult months. Dmitry said, we're always with you. And we really were with you during that time. Dmitry was elected to the State Duma from Nizhny Novgorod. And Sibur, one of your companies, works a lot in that particular region. So it was largely due to Dmitry's position that we were able to provide Nizhny Novgorod with the assistance it needed during that time. Medical equipment. And this was really helpful for the Nizhny Novgorod province. Thank you, Dmitry, for your position. Another person that is kind of special that I would like to introduce to you now. This is someone we have worked closely with, but this is somebody from the Far East, from Amur territory. This is someone we have been talking a lot on the phone during these months. This person
медицинской техники, медицинского оборудования в самые такие тяжелые моменты кризиса. Человек с большим сердцем, я говорю это на базе нашего долгого знакомства, и человек, с которому Амурской области очень повезло, как с губернатором, Василий Александрович Орлов, который любезно к нам сегодня присоединился. Василий Александрович, с удовольствием передаю вам слово.
Mr. Orlov, please, the floor is yours. We have been following UN Sustainable Development Goals closely here in the Far East. We've been implementing some of them. And of course, sustainable economic growth requires investment and business involvement. It's really important for us to work together to identify those goals and achieve them together. You may know that Amur territory is one of the fastest growing territories in Russia. We have a number of new construction sites. We have a new spaceport being built. But of course, our biggest project is our natural gas cluster, the Power of Siberia project, Gazprom construction project, and Sibur started its project as well, and we work closely with those companies. We have a number of mechanisms of interaction between the regional government and businesses. We have activist groups involved, for example. We have a resource center to support NGOs and volunteer groups. And we also have a public council that we created for reviewing construction projects in our region. And last October, we had a social contest. We had special grants issued. I'd like to emphasize that environmental projects are particularly important today, and it's really important to get young people involved in those projects. We have several schools in Blagoveshchensk participating in green projects, and actually our young people won in the volunteer project contest. So we do support this initiative. I would like to say a few words about the coronavirus. This year has been very difficult. No matter how optimistic we try to look, it is tough. But on the other hand, I'd like to tell you, this is a challenge that galvanizes us. It's a litmus test for us. We will see whether we can really work together. The government, businesses, and NGOs. When we faced the first wave, we really didn't know what the coronavirus works like. Remember how difficult the situation with PPE was. We had severe shortage. There was panic. People couldn't buy face masks. And the situation was really tough. Yet we had a number of very good public initiatives. First, we set up a charitable foundation that companies donated 13 million rubles to. And we used this money to purchase PPE and deploy doctors to hotels to stop the spread of the coronavirus and other measures as well. I would like to thank some major companies that helped us during those days. Sibur, Gazprom, they supplied thousands and thousands of respirators and gloves and hazmat suits. Also, we built a new hospital, basically from scratch. We repaired a number of military hospitals. We purchased some expensive equipment. CT scanner, and we were also able to invite about 100 doctors from other parts of Russia. Also, volunteers played a very big role in those events. We have many volunteers. Mostly they delivered food and other necessary items to high-risk people, 65 years plus. So volunteers took food to those elderly people. Our donors gave us 25,000 deliveries of food. Thank you very much, and I'm really happy that you discuss these issues, economic issues and social issues, with world-class experts. This fills us with confidence that we will be able to cope with whatever difficulties that come our way. Thank you very much, Governor Orlov. We know that you're running out of time, so thank you very much for being with us. Thank you for joining us today. I would like to actually take this opportunity to kind of advertise Amur territory. All the companies and foundations that are part of the Donors Forum, they all speak well of Amur territory. We know from our experience that all our initiatives are always supported by Governor Orlov and his team. We have never had any difficulties when working in Amur territory. Thank you, Mr. Orlov, once again. Thank you. You're always welcome. Okay, to conclude this welcoming section, I would like to thank all those who addressed and welcomed our conference. I think Governor Orlov used the word help 6 times, and other speakers like Dmitry Spatkovsky used the word help quite a few times. Well, this means that this year's conference is particularly relevant. And coming back to the technical difficulties we had earlier this morning, I hope the rest of the conference will go smoothly, and I hope that everything will be fine. This conference is really important. I have a favorite quote from an old Russian film, The Age of Mercy. I think this year we really saw that the time has come when people really need each other. So what we do today here at the Russian Donors Forum is extremely important. Thank you very much, everybody. I give the floor back to Alexandra Boldareva now. Thank you very much, Stanislav. We come back to our conference, and like I said earlier, our conference will last for 5 days, and every day we'll have a special subject. We talk about sustainable development goals, achieving these goals for governments, companies. We discuss different positions we have in our society, and I give the floor now to Natalia Gonchar, member of the Russian Donor Forum Council. Natalia, your company is an ambassador of the SDGs. We discussed this with you long before we announced this year's subject. Could you please tell us whether this subject is really important to all of us and around the world? Morning, colleagues. I'm talking to you from the far east of Russia. I'm even further than Amur territory. We're right on the border. Of course, this year was very difficult. As you know, we are facing an economic crisis and a social crisis simultaneously. So we picked this particular subject for this year's conference even before we knew what this year was going to be like. You all know that the World Health Organization declared this an emergency, a global emergency. And later on, the Russian Federation and many provinces of our country and many companies declared a state of emergency. We all face certain challenges internationally, nationally, regionally, corporately, and personally. So this is a new reality, new challenges. And we all have to adapt. We all have to come up with a response. So what about SDGs? Should we remember about the SDGs during such a difficult time? Of course, when the Russian Federation joined this global agenda. Nobody expected that we would face the coronavirus in 2020. Companies have been working on SDGs, incorporating them in their policies for years, but nobody expected that we'll have this pandemic. But that's the very idea of the global agenda. If it's truly global, if it covers everybody, in this difficult situation, this global platform is what brings us all together. Of course, there are certain obvious things. For example, SDG number 3 talks about health. So automatically, all companies are now dealing with the third SDG, especially those that have made corporate social responsibility part of their philosophy. Companies that are interested in protecting their staff, their operation, and that's most companies in the Russian Donors Forum and across the country. So one way or another, SDGs are still on our agenda, directly or indirectly. Well, my favorite SDG is SDG number 8, economic growth. On the one hand, of course, how can you expect economic growth when you're facing a global crisis? And yet, SDG number 8 is so comprehensive. It involves environment, social issues, many other things. So I would say a comprehensive challenge invites a comprehensive response. We can all focus, even if we have limited resources. And finally, I would like to mention SDG number 17. I think the current situation is a kind of challenge for CSR in general. I guess it's tough for businesses right now, but at the same time, we realize we've got lots of people around us who are in even better, even worse situation than we are. NGOs, individuals, and we as partners, of course, would like to preserve and support this partnership. Our company, Sakhalin Energy, we've been in the red zone since March. We operate under a state of emergency, yet we didn't cut out social investment. On the contrary, we boosted our social investment by a few million rubles, and all this money is being used for healthcare. Like Governor Orlov said, and like Stanislav said, we purchased some medical equipment. We wanted to make our healthcare infrastructure ready for the first wave of the coronavirus, the second wave, and God forbid, the third wave. And we'll be talking about different subjects during the 5 days of our conference. Even though we have one key idea going through all the subjects, and that is the SDGs. We'll discuss new mechanisms, new challenges, and how we are going to adapt our strategies because of that. So I'm really looking forward to a few sessions in this conference. Thank you very much. Thank you, Natalia. I give the floor now to Irina Bakradze. Irina, hello. You're also a member of the Donors Forum Council, and you're also a member of the organizing committee for this conference. We knew that This agenda will be interesting to donors, and it's really relevant. Good morning, dear friends. First of all, I would like to thank you for all the warm words we had from our colleagues, charitable foundations earlier today. And I would like to say a big thank you for the support our sector has received during this crisis. So on behalf of all my colleagues, I would like to say a big thank you to all those who help us during this difficult time. I'm also very happy that a lot of attention is given to the charitable sector today. It's really important. In the recent decades, charitable foundations have been playing a very important role in society. Yet, until recently, the charitable sector has been somewhat in the shadow in Russia. It was a rather small community rather than a driver of large-scale changes. Yet, the coronavirus pandemic catalyzed a new paradigm of public awareness. The NGO sector played a great role during the pandemic, and you might say presented charity as a whole new institution to society. This is why our conference this year focuses on the matters of charity. We encourage all foundations to discuss the subject, present some practical stories, and we'll have a special day devoted specifically to foundations. So what are we going to discuss? Well, some of you have mentioned that we may need to review the way we work, the way we interact, and increase our efficiency. Of course, all these things are necessary. But I would say what is even more important, while we understand that NGOs play the leading role, we should also discuss interaction between these three parties, NGOs, businesses, and the government, how to make this interaction more efficient. Do we need any constitutional changes, the way investment works? What needs to be done to help us address our challenges more efficiently today? Is there a way to use the current situation as an opportunity for growth? How NGOs and charitable foundations can play a role in that. So I encourage everybody, my colleagues in NGOs, businesses, government agencies. Of course, we will be happy
выводом и плодотворным заключением, которые позволят нам дальше наиболее эффективно реализовывать наши задачи. Спасибо еще раз большое всем тем, кто с нами сейчас и кто будет смотреть на записи, и удачной нам всем конференции.
Ирина, спасибо огромное. Я бы хотела вернуть микрофон Станиславу Каспарову, потому что для благотворительных фондов, безусловно, тема свежая. Вместе с тем бизнес далеко не находится в точке А. Много всего было сделано, много всего делается. Какие актуальные вызовы сейчас перед бизнесом стоят, когда мы говорим про цели устойчивого развития?
Саш, спасибо. Я вот ехал, хотел сказать, ехал сюда к нам на конференцию, ехал к себе в рабочий кабинет, сюда к нам на конференцию, и думал, что на моей памяти, несколько этапов переживала работа по выстраиванию, да, социальной повестки социальных инвестиций в корпоративном секторе. Мне кажется, мы плюс-минус ходим все одними тропами.
I think we use more or less the same path. We at Cibur and our colleagues in other companies, big and small, initially it's just some sporadic charitable activity.
Широко распределены по России своими активами, то мы спорадически закрывали те или
We
иные.
have companies working throughout Russia, so from time to time we would just do something when a particular province, a particular territory needs something specific. They lack some funds, they have some special needs, and we would help them. This was stage one. Next, we realized that while this may be good, it is also wrong, because what you do is you replace the foundations, the organizations that really should be doing this work. So we started to evolve, and instead of doing that, we started using a more structured approach. We became more targeted, more purposeful. We developed corporate programs for social investment. This was something different from what we did before, and actually quite unique. So after this initial stage, we started learning from each other, borrowing things from each other. We would travel and share our experiences. I remember clearly when I became head of social investment at Cibur, one of my first meetings was with Natalia Popel. She was recommended to me as a leading expert on this subject. Someone who did a lot for social investment at Severostal. And I think I spent an hour and a half talking to Natalia. She explained to me how they operate in detail. So we would enrich each other in this way by sharing our experiences. So we came up with social investment programs, and eventually we arrived at a new stage. We realized that we need to take the next step. We need the next big goal. That's where SDGs came in, and this was very appropriate. We realized that we, as a company, when we implement our social investment programs, we should be part of something bigger. And the SDGs are this bigger thing. This is what we have been doing for the last few years. And I guess at a certain point, we will move on to the next stage. While continuing to work on SDGs, we will all have to pick something unique, something individual that we'll focus on. And even though we all live under the umbrella of the global SDGs, we work in Russia particularly. So I believe as the next stage in our evolution, we should integrate our social investment programs with the particular emphases, I mean the national goals of the Russian Federation, national priorities of the Russian Federation, which makes things easier for us because those goals have been formulated for us. And most of the companies represented in the donors forum, we have these goals: education, health, sports, other things. All those things are also part of Russia's national priorities. So I believe this will be the next stage in our evolution. Actually, this is something we're doing today. And I expect that our program at Sibur, and I think other companies will move on to this next, incorporating global SDGs with Russia's national priority goals. Thank you, Stanislav. I will now turn to Yulia Vesenyova, CSR department at Yahoo Johnson & Johnson. Could you please tell us more about the healthcare sector, the pharmaceutical industry? How did it respond? Hello, colleagues, friends. I'm happy to see all of you at this conference. Actually, Stanislav helped me a lot answering this question. He said something very appropriate. I think time has come for us to marry SDGs with national projects. Of course, all those things are interrelated. So what we do as part of our corporate projects is intertwined with the global work. This year has been difficult for the healthcare system, and the Russian Donors Forum has done a survey on national priorities and SDGs. Coming back to the pandemic, the pharmaceutical industry and the healthcare system in general, I can't remember a single day starting January when they wouldn't say anything about COVID-19 in the news. Every day they talk about the number of cases or vaccines, etc., etc. So SDG number 3, healthcare, is now on everybody's mind. Everybody realizes how important healthcare is to the well-being of society, mankind in general. Because we see restrictions on business, financial losses for businesses and NGOs. As a result, they were unable to continue with their programs. The pharmaceutical industry was at the front line. We could not stop our operations. We had to provide people with the medicine. They can't survive without medicine. And other organizations and foundations working with sick people, with patients, had to continue their operation as well. Yet their situation was even more difficult because their problems were sometimes neglected. We really need to help each other. And I saw some examples. For example, CAF Russia created a special, set up a special fund helping organizations and individuals. So this was a major NGO helping smaller NGOs in the hour of need. So the way I see this is we all are holding hands and helping each other. For example, J&J donated 150 million rubles to COVID-related funds in Russia, Ukraine, and some CIS countries. We did our best. On Sakhalin Island, some companies increased their social spending. And I'm really happy that the RDF did a special survey on how different companies responded to the COVID situation. So we monitored the situation. We'll share our observations with you during this conference. And now, a little advertisement. I would like to invite you to day 4, Thursday, when we will talk about practical aspects. We'll talk about health, SDG 3, 4, 5, and we'll have different companies and NGOs discussing their work and how they can improve their operations going forward. In addition, I think for the first time this year, we'll have this kind of digital interactive format to offer you a new option for interacting with experts. We'll have interviews. We'll have one of our people interviewing an expert. For example, Alexander will interview Oleg Kabikov. So I think finally we will all find out why the World Food Program received the Nobel Prize this year. This will be very interesting. So during this week, we'll use digital technology to share as much information with each other as possible. I think each one of us will learn something new and interesting. So I will stop here with healthcare. I hope you will spend this week productively, and this will prepare us for the next year. And I hope that the next year will be better than the last one. It's definitely going to be different. Thank you, Yulia. Thank you for advertising our next day. And of course, we have to touch on the subject of environment. So I turn to Ekaterina Plushnik now. Ekaterina is head of CSR projects at Societe Generale. And we talk about the SDGs, sustainable development, environment, economy. All those matters are very close to Societe Generale. So, Ekaterina, could you please say a few words? Hello, colleagues, and good evening to you. Thank you, Alexander. Of course, climate and environment are an important part of the Sustainable Development Agenda. All these matters play a big role. I would like to share a few observations with you on this matter. The green funding market is one of the drivers of sustainable growth. This is what can help business to become greener. And provided with new opportunities. And I would say that the COVID-19 pandemic galvanized all these processes, investment in green innovation. The word partnership was mentioned a few times earlier this morning, and I'm not an exception. I think green innovation largely depends on partnership between NGOs, government agencies, regulators, and companies, of course. Let me give you a few examples. Last week, the UN presented new principles of responsible banking. Those principles were developed by UNEP-FI. This is a special program by the UN for protecting the environment. They developed this program jointly with the financial institutions, and many banks participated in working on those principles, including our bank, Société Générale. And many of Russian banks have joined those principles. So I would like to add that to Société Générale, sustainable development, innovation, and partnership are extremely important. This is part of our strategy, part of our mission, creating a sustainable future together with our customers, offering sustainable and responsible solutions. For years, our group has been building up expertise, including green energy, and we made a commitment to invest 120 billion euros in renewable energy sources by 2030. And we have made significant progress. We have developed new regulation in this area, and we have new opportunities for green development. Now, coming back to the matter of partnership, I would like to say that Rosbank is part of the central bank's working group on long-term investment concept, which includes green project. Last spring, the Bank of Russia updated its emission standards, introducing the concept of green bonds. And this is very good news because this provides a very good tool for Russian banks. Also, I should mention SDG indices by the Russian Union of Industrialists and Entrepreneurs and the Moscow Exchange. And I would also like to mention what I think is one of the key elements of success in achieving the SDGs. I'm talking about energy. Energy, fuel is extremely important. We need innovation in the energy sector, innovation and investment. Energy transformation, of course, is something much bigger than just moving on to renewable energy sources. It also includes energy efficiency. This is something that both companies and individuals do to reduce their energy consumption, eliminate energy waste. Everybody has to play a role here. Large corporations, smaller companies, individuals, households. And of course, public opinion plays a huge role here. Let me give you an example from Europe. You may have heard from the manifesto of European college students. They refuse working for companies that don't care about the environment. 30,000 college students have signed this manifesto, mostly in France, Grand École. And when we heard about this, we thought maybe as part of our conference, we could invite our college students, our future leaders, and listen to them what they think about the SDGs. What concerns them today? What would they invest their energy in? So I would also like to advertise. This is a session we'll have tonight. This will be the last session on Monday, today. So I invite you all to join this session. Also, talking about the environment, I would like to mention that Russia has set up its first regional center on Sakhalin Island that will offer comprehensive expert support to sustainable development projects, low emission projects. And we plan to roll out this idea to other parts of Russia later on. I think this is very good news to all of us, because we really need to develop our expertise in this matter. And of course, Russia has a unique geographical situation. We are very unique in as far as our natural resources are concerned, and we have every opportunity to become one of the world leaders in this matter. I think the current situation with the environment should motivate us to create new opportunities to improve our environmental regulation, to adapt our economy, make it greener, and at the same time, this should also help with developing partnerships between businesses, NGOs, and the government. In conclusion, I would like to mention something very important. It is impossible to solve environmental problems without addressing social issues. We all understand that greener, we won't be able to switch to greener development overnight, because we need to supply people with electricity, heating, etc., etc. You also face the problem of jobs. So when addressing those issues, you have to take a comprehensive approach. You have to consider everything, yet you have to make specific progress. We don't have much time left. We need to start working on those environmental issues today. So we'll talk about the environment tomorrow. If you care about the environment, please join us tomorrow. Thank you very much. Alexander, back to you. Thank you, Ekaterina. Thank you. Our final speaker in this section is Elena Zhuk, representing Philip Morris Russia. Irina, hello. We talked about partnership a lot. That
эффективное партнерство между секторами, государством, бизнесом, некоммерческим сектором. Что вы думаете по этому поводу?
So what can we do to develop partnership? Good morning. I don't quite agree with you. I don't think partnership is the most difficult things. It all depends. So I will be very brief, because my section is supposed to start at 12:15. So I don't want to keep this opening section running too long. I think the pandemic became a catalyst and, like somebody said, a litmus test that tested our interaction. And in some areas, businesses and NGOs were already working together on sustainable development goals. they already set up their interaction. For example, some businesses were able to allow their staff to work from home easily, and it was easier for them during the pandemic. Some companies have established close ties with government officials like governors, and when the crisis came, those companies were able to interact more efficiently. And we see that the situation is very different, say in St. Petersburg and Krasnodar. And we know more or less the landscape of NGOs, what the situation looks like in different parts of Russia. We also know organizations that help with medical equipment or volunteers. So those places, which had such organizations in place, were able to adapt and respond to the crisis better. So what we need today is look for new interaction models. And this is what we are going to talk about in our conference. And the fact that this year's conference will be quite long, it will be 5 days long. I would like to thank Alexandra for making all these preparations. And we see all the stakeholders involved here. We see companies, NGOs, government officials, all present here. I would like to advertise my section, which will start at 12:15. We'll talk about the future. What needs to be done? You know that Russia prepared a report for the UN on sustainable development. So this is what we are going to cover at the section at 12:15. Thank you, Irina. We are running out of time. And before I conclude this section, and I thank all the speakers, I would like to share some news with you. The RDF will partner up with UN and WINGS on the SDG Philanthropy platform project. We will coordinate this work, and I hope we'll have a lot of opportunities for partnership when working on this project. And now I would like to thank all of the participants, all of the speakers. I think we need to take a 5-minute break, and we'll continue in 5 minutes. Please stay with us.
С удовольствием слушал.
Спасибо. Очень было полезно, мне кажется, нам всем послушать.
Хороший настрой всех участников, и очень вовремя проводится ваше мероприятие в таком вот плотном календаре октябрьском. Хорошее участие. И главное понимание со стороны людей, потому что еще 5 лет назад говорить про цели развития тысячелетия, про те же ЦУРы, которые тогда готовились в повестке 2030, ну, в России было, ну, не то, что беспредметно, но как бы грустно, потому что информация отсутствовала. А сейчас эта вот идея овладела